I imagine a lot of conversations about the new Uncharted movie are going to go this weekend. Fans of the game will say, that's the most offensive thing I've ever seen. And people who don't play the games will say, I don't know, it seemed okay to me. And I'm the latter. I have never played an Uncharted game, but I've watched a lot of adventure movies. And this was like one of the more solid ones, I have to say. So talk about treasure. Everyone in Hollywood wants to be the new Indiana Jones, but the map, the script, remains elusive. When everyone else goes searching for something, it gets a bit boring and repetitive. You feel like they're just going through the motions. There's an underground sequence here that's a lot like the one in Last Crusade. And in Last Crusade, I was on the edge of my seat being like, not rats, oh my God. But here I was kind of like, are we almost there yet? But when Indiana Jones did it, at least for the first 3 movies, it was riveting every step of the way. I never felt it was just going through the motions. So how did Spielberg do it? Because so many others have tried and failed. Or at least, I think failed is a little harsh. I would say come up short. Even Spielberg himself couldn't pull it off with Crystal Skull. I think he flat out failed there. So I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not directing an action movie, but if I were, I mean, like an adventure, like, an Indiana Jones type movie. But I think it would really behoove whoever does get such a directing gig to really sit down and watch those 3 movies. Or if you're looking for a subject for a paper, to figure out why it works when Indiana Jones does it and not when anyone else does. That's crazy. It can't just be that Harrison Ford is that charismatic. And also the screenwriters, in some cases, went on to, do a horrible job with the Solo movie. So why was this such magic those 3 times? Now, is Uncharted a bad movie? Again, it seems if you play the game, it is. But and I have to say, even as someone, again, who doesn't play the game, I can still see that Tom Holland is probably as miscast as Tom Hanks was as Robert Langdon. Now, I've compared Tom Holland to Tom Hanks in the past, and I've been saying that Tom Holland should be making more romantic comedies and dramas instead of focusing on all these, like, sexy action roles, a la Hanks, who's, of course, found great success with that path. But now that I've seen Holland in action, where he's not in a Spider-Man suit, so you can really see that it's him, I'm not so sure. Because he should give up on action, because thanks to his dance and gymnastics background, as well as his years as Spider-Man, Holland not only does his action scenes with confidence, but a unique quality from any other action stars that we've seen. To see him flip and jump throughout this film is exhilarating. It's different, and it's what makes this film different from all the other Indiana Jones wannabes. That and blatant product placement. Papa John's, really? Wow. I can't believe Papa John's could afford such a huge product placement. Papa John's is like, sure, your characters could just eat our pizza, but how much for them to have a fight scene in one of our pizzerias in Spain? That was crazy. All right, at one point, Tom Holland stands at the wheel of an old ship, and Mark Wahlberg jokingly calls him Jack Sparrow. But I gotta say, he looks so much like Peter Pan to me in that shot. Thanks to Tom Holland's boyish charms, I don't care how many times he takes his shirt off or how many pull-ups he does, he still comes across as very young to me. He still has also a Michael J. Fox quality to him as well. And again, all the flippy flips. Very Peter Pan. His fight sequence with Captain Hook. Tom Holland has a lot of those qualities, but he's not animated, which is really cool to see. But here's the problem. Nathan Drake is nothing like Peter Pan. So while I was entertained, fans of the game who are legion, I think are going to have a hard time getting over the discrepancy. They're going to be like, I don't care how cool Tom Holland is in this movie. He's playing Nathan Drake, and he's nothing like Nathan Drake. But I think Tom Holland is so good here. I was like, wow, he's become such a charming professional action hero. I was like, even if this doesn't work out for him, Tom Holland, I think, will be playing Peter Parker for another 10 to 15 years because we can finally get our adult Peter Parker adventures. I think he's getting to be that good. And another actor that Tom Holland reminded me of here, another Tom, in fact, is Tom Cruise. Because Tom Holland has not just laser-like physical precision and confidence like Tom Cruise does, and it seems like he does a lot of his own action, his own stunts as well. I think there were like only two stunt people credited for filling in for Tom Holland, and I assumed a lot of the times that was a CGI Spider-Man. It might have actually been Tom Holland for more than I thought, because he's really, really good, and he's also even shorter, like Tom Cruise. They actually make a height joke here, which I thought was very funny. And good for Tom Holland that he didn't mind that they made it. But also, Nathan Drake starts out here as a bartender, and Tom Holland's moves here reminded me a lot of Tom Cruise in Cocktail. And again, precision. He has just such precise movements. It's really cool to watch. He's very good. Tom Holland. While Tom Holland does remind me of a lot of other Toms, he's still very much his own Tom. And a lot of what drives this Uncharted is charisma. When the movie works, it's either because of grand action sequences directed quite well by Ruben Fleischer in his most ambitious film to date, and he pulls it off, or when Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg are on screen together as Nathan Drake and his mentor, Sully. Now, in the game, Sully is a father figure to Nathan Drake, but here they act so much like brothers, and in my opinion, even look so much alike, that it's hard not to think they're actual brothers, especially because Nathan keeps talking about a brother. His missing brother, just like in the games, is a big part of this story. But I was like, is your brother missing? Because then who's that standing next to you? He acts and looks like your brother. The script, though, is at its best, not when coming up with adventures or mysteries, but quips for Drake and Sully, delivered with zing and heart by Holland and Wahlberg. They really are both at the top of their game here, and they have a fantastic chemistry together. They're excellent. I will say, though, Mark Wahlberg was very distracting. He seemed to be wearing some sort of lip gloss throughout the movie, and it was really distracting. I mean, at a certain point, I was like, can we just pause the movie and talk to his makeup team? Is he wearing lip gloss? It's like, I think he has too much on. The movie works very hard, though, to set up future films with both of them together going forward as this team. Stay for a fun but short mid-credit scene, which is actually partially in the trailers. But while I think it's unlikely we'll get these sequels because fans have been so unhappy so far with this adaptation, I would personally be down to see Holland and Wahlberg's adventures continue. Again, I think they're a really good team. They have some really good jokes and banter going, and they set up some good running gags for future movies. I don't want to ruin them. As for the rest of the cast, Antonio Banderas is properly menacing, but Sabrina's Tati Gabriel, who once again does a great job, she's so good on Sabrina and very good here as well, but she is a surprisingly menacing villain who really means business, so she cut quite a dashing figure as the villain. She's a lot more memorable than Sophia Ali, who comes across as a lesser Bond girl. This franchise seems to be building itself around Holland and Wahlberg with villains and love interests that can just be rotated with each movie. And as we know from Bond, then sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. Production-wise, the movie is quite slick, and it often feels like our characters are on location rather than on sets, even if they really are on sets. The visual, sometimes you can tell, but I think the visual effects here are done quite well. And a decent amount was shot on location, with Spain, not only being Spain, but I think substituting for some other locations as well, but very effectively. So the gorgeous international locations, humor, and action do a lot to help the lackluster script outside of the jokes. The jokes are very clever. And the music occasionally comes in and does a nice assist as well. I wouldn't say that it has a good score, but they have a couple good music choices where a song comes in and lifts the energy just when you need it to, because, the energy is sagged a little bit. Game fans will be happy with a very clever Nolan North cameo. That was hilarious. I have to say the movie played mostly to a very silent audience when I saw it at my press screening, but everybody laughed for the Nolan North cameo. It was not like an ooh-ah type movie. I didn't make a lot of noise either while I was watching it, but I was entertained. And the new intro for PlayStation Productions is pretty cool. Wow, and it shows that PlayStation is serious about getting into the movie business. But they need to realize that there's a reason so many people love their top games, and with video game animation so lifelike these days, adapting those games to real live action is going to take more precision than just the general idea, which is what Hollywood has done for, historically done when adapting a lot of material, particularly when it comes to video games. They're like, what? Tom Holland's wearing Nathan Drake's outfit, and it's just, it's not enough. It's just not close. It's too far, I think. And it's unfortunate because Tom Holland does a great job, but I think he's just miscast. But if you've never played Uncharted and you enjoy this type of adventure movie, and again, I said this is it's not Indiana Jones, but it's certainly, better than most of them, or, they're all only okay. But this is a good one. Or if you like Tom Holland, I know a lot of you do, or if you're a Mark Wahlberg fan, this is a fun diversion. I think that if you want to go to the multiplex, it is a fun movie to see. It's a holiday weekend coming up. You want to go, you'll have a good time. And if you want to wait to stream it later, I think you'll still have a good time. It's a fun movie. Uncharted hits theaters only this Friday. It'll eventually get to streaming. And I'm curious, do you plan to see it? I know some of you have already seen it overseas, so I'd be curious to hear your thoughts as well. And if you're a fan of the game, or if like me, you've never played it, so you don't see what's so offensive about this movie. All right, share those thoughts down below. Subscribe today. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.